Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. We are here to talk solar power today. I have two guests in studio. With me, we have the president and CEO of Scenic Solar, Bill Halter, former lieutenant governor of the state of Arkansas, and we have the Clarksville Light and Water Company general manager, John Lester. Thank you both for being here.
Great pleasure, Roby.
All right. There is some sunshine out today, although it does not feel like there is some sunshine. But that's okay. That's okay. Let's begin with what is happening in the solar energy markets. Bill, I'm going to come to you first.
Sure.
Why is solar on the rise? What has happened to really allow it to take off like it has?
The biggest and most dramatic change, Roby, has been a reduction in the price of the equipment, and that has made solar power cost competitive with other forms of generation in a way that previously it was not. And just one example of that, the price of solar modules, which is the main component, of a power plant, has literally come down by over 80% in the last 6 to 7 years. So you've got capital expenditures is really the main cost here. So if the price of the capital has come down by 80%, all of a sudden solar power is competitive.
It makes some sense.
Yes.
All right, John, tell me a little bit what went into the First of all, tell everybody what the Clarksville decision is to do this 40-acre field, and then tell me kind of what went into that decision-making process.
We'd started looking at the option of solar 2 years before this transaction took place. And what we decided was, there were some peers that I was aware of in Missouri who had started implementing solar, so therefore the economics had to work. And that's when we started to do the research. Where we benefit and where our customers benefit is the solar, since it's producing when we need it the most, it acts as a peak shaver for us. So I'm actually reducing our customers' overall system costs somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 a year, about $100,000 a megawatt. So I'm overall reducing my customers' costs, and that's why the economics work compared to a traditional type generation source.
Yeah, unusual for a small town in Arkansas to take that gamble and to do that, though. So there had to be a little bit of political discussion about why we're going to do that, or was it just all purely economic?
Well, it's a lot economics. But we've got a history of doing thinking outside the box, at least for the last few years, and doing some innovative things. And we've got a history of having a renewable resource, and we have a lot of hydropower that we get from Southwest Power Administration. So it just fit into the overall mix, and when the economics work on top of it, how can you lose?
I think John's being a little bit modest as well. There's a tremendous amount of leadership that John personally, as well as the city, has undertaken here. As you know well, a lot of times folks are risk averse. They don't want to be the first one doing something big or bold. John doesn't have that restriction in the way that he works and operates, and that's to his great credit because he's saving the community money. And another important part of this is this asset is Clarksville's first generating asset that they own, and it's in their footprint. So it's giving them long-term independence, cost certainty. There's a lot of positive things that are happening here, but it wouldn't have happened if John, had not, along with the community, said we're gonna go do this.
You obviously, this is a great model for you to go out to some other communities that may be forward or progressive thinking on this front. So I would assume there's more in the works.
There is, Roby. We try to protect the confidentiality of our communications with clients, as you would expect, but there are a large number of conversations underway. John and I are talking about a phase 2 for Clarksville, as an example, but there are other communities that we're engaged with. A key thing that's happened, we were talking about the economics of this, it's now the case in the state of Arkansas that virtually every commercial, industrial, or municipal utility would save money long-term with solar power. That's how far the prices have come down. When you combine that with the advantage of having this asset in your property tax base locally, when you combine that with the advantage of employing local workers to build the power plant, to be a part of the operation of the power plant.
And some other win-win
aspects
too. So I assume costs are going to come down even more as technology advances more. I know we report a lot on what's going on in the solar field because of some of the research going on up, say, in Fayetteville, for instance. So I would imagine it gets even more and more beneficial from a cost savings perspective.
Yes, there's one possible wrinkle though. There's a trade case going on right now, and the Trump White House is required to make a decision by January 26th, so it's a looming decision. that could fairly dramatically raise the price of modules through the institution of a tariff.
Okay.
So that would be the only thing I see on the horizon that might raise costs. But you're right. I mean, technology, in terms of pricing, it's a one-way ratchet. Technology prices only go down over time, and we expect that prices will continue to go down.
So there's an expansion project on Clarksville's front, it sounds like, from what Bill has just said. Do you have some other energy efficiency initiatives that are underway?
One of the things that we're doing in addition to this project is we've been building a fiber optic network. And in that fiber optic network, we would have the ability, if we connect it to homes or businesses, to use that through smart technology to reduce demand at peak times. So that is a long-term possibility by putting that in place in addition to.
Any pushback from anybody when you guys made the decision to do this? And was there anybody that just said, I'm against it?
About the solar?
Yeah.
I posted a Facebook post on the announcement and not one negative comment, which is unheard of
That is.
in social media today. So, no, it's
or
really
towards
been,
a city leader or for a utility leader in that
it's
respect.
been
So.
overwhelmingly positive. The only negative that I've ever heard was an individual who thought it was going to cost them more because we were doing this, and when I finally convinced them that actually we're saving money, then
That was it.
And it phased away.
All right. John Lester with Clarksville City Light and Power. Did I get that?
Clarksville Light and Water.
Light and Water there. I'm sorry about that. And Scenic Hills CEO Bill Halter. And I'm going to take a little editorial license. You said I couldn't ask you about some politics after the break, but I can't ask you about you specifically. So I'm going to ask you about not you specifically.
Perfect.
We'll take a break.
Okay.
All right. We're back with more right after this.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Welcome back to Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. We are joined by former Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter. He is the CEO of Scenic Hill Solar, and we were talking solar energy in the last block with John Lester from Clarksville Light and Water Company. I want to make sure I get that one right there, the general manager. Let's turn our attention to politics real quickly. I promised I would not ask you what you might have in your political future, so we will stay away from that question, but I want everybody to know that I dodged it there. We're seeing something in the water nationally.
Yes.
This first year of the Trump presidency has led to a lot of Democratic overperformance in many local races as well as some federal races. What do you think? What do you think's in the water? What do you think's in the air?
So I think it's a couple things. I think first there's a natural tendency in American politics to gravitate back, toward the middle, if you will, or to move back away from maybe an overreaction one way or the other. So I think that's part of it. I think another thing that's going on, though, is that there's a tremendous amount of just basic dissatisfaction with the seeming inability of the federal government to function. And when you have a party in complete control of both the executive and legislative branches, they are naturally going to wear most of the responsibility for that failure to function. And so you're seeing some of that. I think the other thing is that, however you feel about the president in terms of his politics, ideology, wherever you fall there are operating styles that he undertakes that tend to accentuate, the divisiveness, the tweets and so forth. And so you have people reacting to that as well.
You like his policies, but you might not like the way that he goes about.
I think there are Trump supporters that will tell you that they wish he'd just stop the tweets, right? I mean, they're pretty direct about that. So you've got all that going on. I think the other thing is that there's there's a desire, and this may be more generational, but maybe not, where you've got folks that are really saying, hey, look, I just want the system to function. I want my problems to be addressed. I want them to be addressed without a whole lot of the atmospherics, without a whole lot of the volatility. And so I think that's going on as well.
Yeah.
Right? You saw down in Alabama, right, a Senate candidate who just was out there being very straightforward, very methodical. Here's where I stand, not getting too much in the atmospherics. His opponent, by contrast, had a lot of reputation for those atmospherics. I think that ultimately in this environment hurt him.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, Roby, and I think we're gonna see that.
You think some of that will filter into Arkansas
I do,
here in a big
yeah.
way or a small way? Somewhere in the middle?
I think that we're going to have a shift, and I think the question is how big. I've obviously been on the ballot. We had a big Democratic victory in 2006, not that long ago. It's hard for me to really believe that the fundamental body politic in terms of where it stands has shifted permanently as dramatically as you would think between 2006
Yeah.
and the 2016
Well, there's always
election.
pendulum swings
Yeah,
in politics,
absolutely.
and at some point, a pendulum starts to swing.
That's right.
In the other direction. All right, he's former Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter, more famously known these days as Scenic Hill Solar's CEO. And it's good to see you.
Thank you, Roby.
Thank you guys for coming in studio.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you for tuning in. That's all for today's program. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.